right, what we're going to do for today is we're going to take you guys on a farm tour, our house tour, and show you what we got going. And in the middle of that, hopefully, I can answer some of the questions that I've been getting by showing you what's going on with some of the plants uh, that we got here in our yard. So I'm going to answer some of your questions, and let's take you along for a farm tour. All right, let's go. All right, so this is our front yard, part that faces up towards the highway. Um, This is the office patio behind those doors right there. Hey, Hazel, what's going on? Is there danger, girl? Is there danger? I think we're okay. I think we're okay, Hazel. So this is our office patio. Behind there's my office door. Oh, there's deer in the yard. Hazel, Hazel, let him be. Let him be. It's okay. Let him be. Hey, it's okay. Well, let's go see if we can find the deer. Where'd they go, girl? Huh? You scared them off, I'm pretty sure. So that's up in the orchard. We'll talk about the orchard later. There's no deer, knucklehead. All right, back to what we were talking about. So back here as we're coming back up on it, this is the office porch, patio, whatever you want to call it. Right behind there is our true front door, but that's the office door. And this is kind of our little French courtyard patio that we've got here. Lots of brick and rock. Lots of extra flowers, vegetables. We have this open space. This tree died on us a couple years back. Fully died this year. I thought I could save it, but we can't. So that tree's got to come down. So we lost a lot of shade in this part of the yard here. So I don't know what's going to happen here. We've talked about putting a pergola up. We've kicked around putting a pond in there. But ultimately, I'd still like a lot of shade. I want this corner of the yard to kind of have a French look to it. And match these patios and everything. Several planters, hanging planters. We come around to this lower retaining wall. We had to put this retaining wall in because if we get big rainstorms, water comes down the driveway and it would make this corner and it would flood all this out. So we had to put a retaining wall in here to keep the water from flooding in the yard. We got some lamb's ear here. Got some white dianthus, taller, 16-inch growing. We got some shorter dianthus, some old piece of junk, chunk of metal. Lots of rusty metal around our yard. Moved some strawberries into here. Moved them out of the strawberry bed to get some more light. Got the giant rhubarb hanging out in the corner. So far, this is my failed attempt at getting asparagus going. I've been trying. I'm getting more successful. Looks like I got to weed it. Got buttonweed coming like mad. Got a pear tree here. This is the third year for the pear tree. So starting to rock along. Got a few pears coming off of it. So I think it probably helps without that tree there. Bleeding heart. I love these things. These are horseradish. And these great big leafed monsters just get huge. By the end of summer, those horseradish will be 4 or 5 feet tall. In the middle, that's a third year pear tree. Excuse me, not a pear tree. It's a peach tree. It's just loaded with peaches this year. Might even be too many peaches. As they get big, I'll have to watch it. Peaches are so heavy. They'll pull the branches down so hard. So that's about all the taller I want it to be. It's about 8, 9 feet tall. I don't want it to get any bigger than that. I kind of want to leave a real dwarf tree here in the food forest. This here's a goji berry monster. This really does need to be tied up. We need to build a trellis around it like raspberries. Get it tied up. Otherwise, it's just sprawling all over the ground. So we got to take care of that. We got to get it up. That's goji berries. Awesome little berries if you've never had a goji berry. This is our garlic bed. Garlic's coming along nice. And we have a triple apple tree in the middle of it. That apple tree's been grafted with 3 different varieties. It's also 3 or 4 years old. So it's about time to start pruning them. I don't prune them for about the first 3 years. Just let them grow. get nice healthy root structure. This one was kind of shaped this way when we bought it, but the extra pruning is going to have to come in this year. Get it a better shape, find out what are keeper branches and what are going to go. So again, I don't want this one to get any more than about 5, 6, 8 feet tall. I want to leave them dwarfs. Garlic's rocking and rolling. Everything's looking good there. This is a honeyberry. I think we had another honeyberry back over in the horseradish area. So this is a honeyberry. It's cruising right along. Good and healthy. See, there's a few chomps out of the leaves. Right there. Something's been numbing on it. Oh, a little honeyberry coming on right there. So looks like this year it'll start producing them a little better. You just get a few off of it a year, but she's starting to come alive now. So got some black hollyhocks in the back corner there. They're going to be coming along pretty good. This weed, horrible weed. Morning glory. Hate it. Got to get rid of that. Pull it, get it completely out. Field bindweed is horrible. This is a cherry tree. Coming along pretty good. Looks good and healthy. Looks like you got a little leaf miner work right there. Not bad though. You're going to have bugs. Okay? Every crop is going to have bugs. You're going to have something that attacks your trees, your plants, your vegetables, your flowers. Don't freak out at the first sign of any insects. Life's about bugs, and it's about a balance. So many of our insects have beneficial insects that will attack them. And as long as your bug infestation stays in a nice balance, it's going to be okay. So I'll keep my eye out for some more bug issues as we walk about, and we'll see if there's a need to action for them. But for the most part, let them go. We'll see. And I'll explain more why later. But it's not a bad thing to have a few bugs. A few more honeyberries. There's another honey buddy, another honeyberry, another honeyberry, another goji monster. This goji monster got planted a little too close to the lawn here, so we're gonna have to trellis him up and kind of train him to grow back towards the fence. Here's a third-year apricot tree. This thing's going bananas. This will be the year that it starts getting cut back. You get these big, long, single branches coming out of a tree like that from such a low area, and that thing gets heavy, full of apricots, and it's going to pull it over and break it. So I may cut some branches on it earlier in the year, and we'll see what the apricots look like. I don't see too many on it, but we'll definitely keep an eye on it. It's about time to start trimming and shaping it. Get rid of these crossing branches. You never want a branch to cross and touch another branch. It'll just, in the wind, it'll wiggle on it, move back and forth, cause damage. So you always want to make sure we don't have branches crossing branches. We want branches to grow out flat for fruit, up for shade. So earlier we already went through here. I'll make a whole nother video on this later. It's just a starter this year. These are all first year fruit trees out here in our multi-variety fruit forest. So we'll check that out later. But it's a good start right now. Over here we had a pretty big strawberry bed. But the problem with these big, nasty fir trees is the soil beneath it is perfect for strawberries. The strawberries we do have are rocking and rolling. Nice thick strawberries, but it's too shady. So I eventually want to take these trees out. I just don't know what to replace them with. They do create a nice windbreak in the wintertime, but they're just getting nasty. They're so thick and overgrowth. I don't know what to do to save them. So more on that later. I got some ideas. I may borrow a fire truck in the fall and go in there and just blast all the dead out of there. We also fight tussock caterpillars in them. And I sprayed BT on them to try to get them. There's one right there. Focus, focus, focus. There's one right there. But I think he's dead because he ate the BT. BT only affects chewing animals, sucking animals. But you can see clear up on top there. If I can zoom it in. I can't. that the tussock moths get up there because it's hard for me to get to the top of those trees. It doesn't kill the tree, but it defoliates it enough that it makes it very sick. So I don't know. We're going to change something there someday. Over here in the garden water's on. Everything is rocking and rolling. We're starting to get some summertime temps, so things are starting to grow and take off. Got cucumbers here. Got 2 rows of beans. I use mini wobblers in our garden. Mini wobblers do a great job at not creating a soaked zone or a puddling zone. It's a nice light sprinkler. In fact, it might be too light. I need to nozzle up maybe and add a little bit more water. I have to run these. These are only half gallon a minute heads. And so the sprinkler's got to run for quite a while. We got 2 rows of beans. Third row of partial beans. Looks like we've got another cucumber, some type of squash in there. This row is eggplants. They're starting to love the heat, starting to take off. Squash, and I don't remember what's in there. Cucumbers. The only root veg we have that we grow in raised beds is we got a row of gold beets here. They're coming along nice. Probably about another. I like to harvest my beets. They're a little bit bigger than a golf ball. I don't like them great big. So looks like our beets probably got about another 30 days. Leaves. Leaves sometimes are ugly. Okay, not every leaf is going to be a perfectly dark green leaf. It's like a little leaf miner issue, maybe a little powdery mildew. But for the most part, over 60-70% of the plant is green, so that's still a healthy plant. I'm not going to come in here and start spraying all kinds of stuff on it just because I got a couple of undesirable leaves. Carrots is in our other raised bed. We'll do a batch of carrots in here. We still got several more days on them, several more weeks. But what we'll do is the beet bed and the carrot bed will get turned over to another set of carrot beds midsummer. So this is a small greenhouse, and right now it's not being used for anything but storage and some propagation. Let me kill the fans real quick. Goodness sakes. All right. So these are goji berries that April's got propagated and going. So we're going to have another crop of goji berries to be able to add to that. Looks like we got some echinacea left over. It's going to get planted somewhere. A flat of our own use microgreens. Ooh, what are these? These are black petunias. So these are fairly hard to get a hold of in large quantities. So these are the only plants we got. So we're going to grow and hopefully propagate those for the future. Outside the back of the greenhouse is ugliness. Who doesn't have ugliness somewhere? Hey, we got soil tubs ready for planting, our mixing area for soil. This is where garden hoses end up. It's just a mess. There's always a mess somewhere, right? Hopefully. Everybody's probably mess free but us. So we got rows of cabbage here. 2 rows of cabbage since they take up so much space. Kind of some leftovers in the middle. Got some leftover onion starts. More squash starts over there, I think. This is a lot of our propagated trees, rootstock trees. Just hang out back here. They're good and sheltered so they can get stronger. Everywhere from redwoods to maples. That right there's a walnut tree. So kind of a nursery, just where everything gets to grow back here. Right there, sprinklers are still on. Right there's the potato tub. Remember the potato tub earlier? Well, now she's completely full of dirt. Potatoes are popping out over the top. So that's a good pile of potatoes. We're going to see how that'll harvest. Whew, getting wet. Over here to the back of the garden. Oops, still getting wet. Back of the garden, here's our potato patch. Good 24-inch tall potatoes, rocking and rolling. It's great deep soil for them, so they do great there. There's our onion patch over here. Those are a storage onion that last all year long. We're still eating onions from last year on it. Over here in front of the old chicken house, looks like we've got a lot of mint, hollyhocks coming. It's just kind of a jungle back here, but hides the old girl. She needs a facelift one of these days. Let's take a trip through the high tunnel. So now in the high tunnel, we have 1 or 2 peppers and tomatoes. So our greenhouse variety tomatoes in here are rocking and rolling. I don't like tomato cages. We already have a bunch of them, so we're going to keep using them for a while. Eventually, they'll just get winched off the ceiling. Tomatoes are doing great. We got bud sets on all of them. In fact, that one's already turning. I bet that one's turning because it's got blossom end rot. Yep, blossom end rot. Shouldn't be turning that early. So, what causes blossom end rot? Lack of calcium. That's actually maybe a smut. Yeah, that might be more of a smut. I'll have to check that out. Find out what it is for sure, but I'm sure it's blossom end rot. So these are good at CalMag treatment. Also, sometimes just your first blossoms do. So the second, third blossoms on up the set. They look fine, but it's sometimes that first one usually gets a blossom end rot on it. Don't panic too much. Little CalMag treatment will go a long ways. So I think in this house there's 60 tomato plants. Right now Jeremy's working on all of the irrigation for them, so they're all going to have 1 gallon an hour drippers on them, and they'll probably come on 2 times a day. These need to be pruned. Need to get the foliage up off the ground. Some of our tomatoes we also plant carrots with because they symbiotically love to grow together. So we have tomatoes growing with some of our carrots. Not all of them, but I do need to come in here and prune and get any of these leaves that can touch the soil because that's our biggest vector for disease. Down this side of the house, they're still small because they haven't got the heat yet, but we've got 60 pepper plants, 20 of 3 different types of heat. Jeremy will also be getting the irrigation going for that too. So pepper plants are coming along good. The wax peppers, got 2 to 3 inch peppers on them, most all of them. So they don't look like much now, but give them a month of heat inside the high tunnel in here, and they're going to go crazy. Inside, out the front of the tunnel, back over to the yard, is where we have our tomato tornado. Beautiful wife, deadheading flowers. And over here into the medicine garden. And since she's here, she can help me with some of this because I don't remember all of it. What's that?
That is a honeysuckle.
That's a honeysuckle. That's a forsythia.
Forsythia.
Um,
Caryopteris, dark night caryopteris.
Lavender. Chicks and hens, hens and chicks, whatever you call them. Echinacea, or Caryopteris, lavender, bee balm, echinacea, lavender.
Hollyhock.
Are those the black hollyhocks?
I hope so.
Black hollyhocks, lilac tree,
Barberry.
barberry tree, bunch of leftover impatiens tossed underneath it, and a red geranium box because it's a rule. It's a rule that there should always be red geraniums in a flower box. So up here, oh, it's getting bright now. So our hanging baskets off this end of the house. Deadheading them, shaking all the ugly out of them. Over here, we've talked about before, is the tomato tornado. I think I'd get better at that. Some of you have been asking me about your tomatoes. Well, not all our tomatoes are rocking and rolling either. This sad guy, he's going to get pulled out. He's just not performing. Do that today? Okay. He's here, doing good, need to be trimmed. Start trellising them up along the trellis, start tying them up. We also have some curling leaves. Many of you asked me about the curling leaves of your tomatoes. That's okay. If the leaves are curling up or curling in, that's just their natural ability to protect themselves from maybe a drastic change in heat. It's not a water issue. Lack of water is going to droop your leaves down, and it's going to droop your stems down. And a little bit of water wilt is okay. It kind of makes that plant a little bit stronger. It'll come right back out of it. But if your leaves are leathery and curling in, that's just a natural protectant. Especially the other day, I got blowed up with a whole bunch of pictures. Well, it was the first warm day we had. So they're just naturally protecting themselves. So if they're curling in and they still move and open up through the day or on a cooler day, you're quite all right. Now go ahead and inspect them, roll them open. Make sure you don't have anything living in there. These are nice, clean, healthy leaves. There's nothing living in there. And it's also a variety thing. In the Tornado here, I think there's 4 different varieties, so they all look a little different too. This is a Martha Washington. It's nice and open, looks good. That one's unmarked, but I think that is HN 681 greenhouse tomato. It's looking good. I think that's a WSU cherry tomato there. So even though they're all tomatoes, their different varieties have little different looks. So tornado is coming along. Your tomatoes are starting to get some heat, so they're rock and rolling. Here's a goofy one. Look at this tomato. That is just a problem with pollinating. So those buds, the very first buds on a tomato can be kind of wonky and they're not spread out. So those buds were probably grouped so close together that when those buds were pollinated, they turned into like Siamese tomatoes. Completely edible, looks goofy. With those holes in it, the bifurcations between the veg, you could get some mold in there. So it's up to you. Pop it off or keep it and see what happens. It's not going to hurt the plant. Fruit, maybe a bit moldy inside because of those voids, but other than that, should be just fine. Come around here to our raised beds. Whew, that's bright and washed out. Ornamental kale, loves it to be in a raised bed, loves it to be warm with the sun shining on it, and that stuff has exploded and gone crazy. Got some climbing beans, not cruising along very fast, but they'll catch up as soon as we get some warmth. And red and salmon colored geraniums. Over here, parsley is cranking up, getting thick and big, probably needs to be cut back. Dianthus, and then some bunching onions in this bed. The bigger raised beds, got a little bit of everything. Yep, cilantro, some corn lettuce. That's not corn lettuce, is it?
No, it's a bib.
Dill.
Fennel.
Oh, fennel. Okay.
Fennel bulb.
And rosemary in here. Rosemary is slow. Doesn't like to, kind of likes to be protected away from everything. That's why she's got it guarded, so it doesn't get overgrown and overwhelmed. Got some cabbages in here. Short row of beets. Mixture a little bit of everything. I think there's some radish in there, some newer lettuce. Here's some lettuce about to get harvested. Got to keep this cage on it because the birds love it too. So that's about to get harvested. And then, of course, some peas. And this is backed by an espalier type grown apple tree. Many of you have come out here and seen it. It's about due to be trimmed. But that's over a 70-year-old apple tree grown sideways on the tree. So gives a nice backdrop to the patio. So that there is a tour of what's going on at the farm. And kind of a tour and problem that questions I've been getting about problems from insects to ugly leaves. So don't worry too much about insects. Monitor them. Make sure there's not a big infestation of them before you try to get rid of them. Because remember, if you kill in the bad insects, you're also killing the good insects. And so many insects have natural insects that will take care of them. So don't freak out over 1 or 2 bugs. Wait till you have a problem and then treat them. Ways to treat them, maybe just a soap solution to wash them off. A few drops of Dawn dish soap in some water and soak down the leaves, preferably at night. That's when the animal or the insects are the slowest. They're kind of stuck to it. Get the underside and the bottom of the leaves real heavy. Neem oil, NEEM, is a natural insecticide. Works really well to be sprayed on them. That's what we use if we have any insect pressure. There's a little bit of neem oil. And then the other thing that we use is the BT. And it is a bacteria that coats the leaves and will stay on the leaves for quite a while. And any chewing insects, caterpillar type insects, they can't digest it and it ends up killing them off. So those are the only 3 products or 3 ways that we treat for insects. And then some of those discolored leaves, don't get too worried about a discolored leaf. Not all plants are perfect, and not all plants are going to have perfect leaves from top to bottom. So if you get a discolored leaf, you know what I do is pinch it off. Pinch it off, get rid of it, and the plant will fill in and keep itself healthy. But not all leaves are going to be perfect. So hope you guys enjoyed the tour. Maybe we'll do this every couple of weeks to show you how things are going. Feel free to keep asking me any questions. Like this video, share this video, and do us a favor, give us a thumbs up or a comment or something, because that's Facebook's way of tracking popularity of videos. And if there's no comments, it falls off. So they want interaction. I want interaction. So ask us questions and keep enjoying your garden. We'll see you guys later.